Have you ever noticed how some people can walk into a room with a smile that reaches their eyes, engage in effortless conversation, ask about your day with genuine interest, and you'd never know that just hours before, they sat alone in their car, gripping the steering wheel, trying to remember how to breathe? They exist all around us, in the cubicle next to yours, in line at the coffee shop, sitting across from you at dinner, people who quietly carry a lot. And the weight they bear isn't visible in the way a broken arm is visible, or the way exhaustion shows on someone's face after a sleepless night. No, this weight lives somewhere deeper, in the space between their public face and their private thoughts, in the gap between "I'm fine" and the truth. These are the people who have mastered the art of functional suffering. They go to work, they meet deadlines, they show up to social obligations with wine and laughter. They remember your birthday. They text back. They seem, by all external measures, to be doing just fine. But if you could step inside their mind for just 60 seconds, you'd find a different reality entirely. One where every task feels like moving through water, where every smile requires a small act of will, where the simple question, "How are you?" triggers a complex internal calculation. Do I tell the truth, or do I protect them from it? The answer, almost always, is protection. There's a particular kind of loneliness that comes with carrying heavy things in silence. It's not the loneliness of being physically alone. In fact, people who quietly carry a lot are often surrounded by others. They have friends, families, colleagues, social media feeds full of connections, but there's a glass wall between them and everyone else, invisible but impenetrable. They can see out, others can see in, but nothing truly passes through. Psychologists have a term for this phenomenon: perceived social isolation. Research from the University of Chicago found that this subjective experience of loneliness, feeling alone even when surrounded by people, has more severe health impacts than objective social isolation. The stress hormones released by this type of loneliness affect everything from cardiovascular health to immune function. In other words, the body keeps score even when the mind pretends everything is fine. But why do they do it? Why choose silence when speaking might bring relief? The reasons are as layered as the burdens themselves. Sometimes it starts young, growing up in households where emotions were inconvenient, where crying was weakness, where needing help was treated as a character flaw. Children are remarkably adaptive. They learn quickly which versions of themselves are acceptable and which must be hidden. They learn that their pain makes others uncomfortable, so they compress it, tuck it away, and present a more palatable version of themselves to the world. This adaptation becomes a survival strategy, and survival strategies, once established, are remarkably hard to unlearn. Then there's the fear of being a burden. This fear runs deep in people who quietly carry a lot. They've often been the strong ones, the reliable ones, the ones others lean on. They've built their identity around being capable, independent, unshakable. To admit struggle feels like dismantling the very foundation of who they are. It feels like letting everyone down at once. Dr. Brené Brown's research on vulnerability reveals something profound here. The people who struggle most with asking for help are often the ones most willing to give it. They operate on an unspoken double standard. Weakness is acceptable in others but unforgivable in themselves. They'll stay up all night helping a friend move, but won't mention that they're drowning in their own problems. The asymmetry is stark and it's exhausting. If you watch closely, you might notice the small cracks in the performance, the way their smile doesn't quite reach their eyes in photographs, the slight delay before they answer, "I'm good, how are you?" That split-second pause where they're pulling on the mask, the way they're always busy, always moving, because stillness means thinking, and thinking means feeling, and feeling means the risk of falling apart. People who quietly carry a lot become exceptional actors. They study the social script and deliver their lines flawlessly. They know exactly how much to share to seem open without actually being vulnerable. They have mastered the art of the redirect. They respond with a question about the other person, deflecting attention like light off of a mirror. This performance requires enormous cognitive energy. Psychologists call it emotional labor. the effort required to manage your own emotions and present a specific emotional front to others. Research published in the Journal of Occupational Health Psychology found that sustained emotional labor is linked to burnout, emotional exhaustion, and even depersonalization, a sense of becoming disconnected from your own identity. Imagine wearing a costume every single day, one that's slightly too tight, slightly too hot, never quite comfortable. You can't take it off in public. You can only remove it in brief, stolen moments. In the shower, in the car during your commute, in the 3 minutes before sleep when the day's performance finally ends and you're alone with the full weight of everything you've been carrying. That's what it feels like. A constant low-grade dissonance between who you are and who you're pretending to be. Here's what makes this particularly complicated. People who quietly carry a lot are often genuinely strong. This isn't delusion or compensation. They've typically endured real hardship and developed real resilience. They've survived things that would have broken others. They've learned to function through pain, to compartmentalize trauma, to keep moving forward when stopping feels like giving up. But there's a shadow side to this strength. The same resilience that helps them survive can trap them in silence. Because if you've made it through terrible things before without help, asking for help now feels like regression. It feels like undoing all the progress you've made, admitting that you're not as strong as you thought, that the things you survived might have damaged you after all. Psychologist Dr. Susan David, who studies emotional agility, explains that this represents a fundamental misunderstanding of what strength actually is. Real strength isn't rigidity, it's flexibility. It's not the absence of struggle, it's the willingness to acknowledge struggle and adapt to it. But people who quietly carry a lot often learned a different definition. Strength means endurance, silence, independence at all costs. They become like trees that refuse to bend in the wind. And we all know what happens to rigid trees in strong storms. There's also a specific type of trauma that creates this pattern, what psychologists call complex trauma or developmental trauma. Unlike single-event trauma, a car accident, a natural disaster, complex trauma involves repeated, ongoing adversity, often during childhood, emotional neglect, chronic instability, parentification when children are forced to take on adult responsibilities, growing up in environments where safety and support were inconsistent. People who've experienced complex trauma often develop what's called a fawn response. They become experts at reading others' emotional states and managing them, often at the expense of their own needs. They learn that their value lies in being helpful, uncomplicated, and strong. They learn that their own needs are less important than maintaining peace, stability, or others' comfort. This isn't a choice they make consciously. It's wired into their nervous system, an automatic response forged in the fires of early experience. Let's talk about what they're actually carrying, because it's not just their own struggles. People who quietly carry a lot often become repositories for others' pain as well. They're the ones friends call at 2 a.m., the ones who notice when someone else is struggling and gently check in, the ones who remember the difficult anniversary, the stressful deadline, the family drama that everyone else has forgotten. They carry their own grief, anxiety, depression, trauma, and then they carry pieces of everyone else's too. Sociologist Arlie Hochschild coined the term emotion work to describe the labor involved in managing feelings, both our own and others. While everyone does emotion work to some degree, people who quietly carry a lot often do a disproportionate share. They're the emotional infrastructure of their social groups, the invisible support system that keeps everything running smoothly. But infrastructure, by definition, is meant to be invisible. It's only noticed when it fails. Think about the last time you leaned on someone during a difficult period. Did you notice if they were struggling too? Did you ask? Or did their calm, capable presence make it easy to assume they were fine? This is the curse of competence. The better you are at hiding your struggles, the less likely others are to see them. And the cycle perpetuates itself. Inside the mind of someone who quietly carries a lot, there's a constant, running commentary, a mental checklist that never ends. Hold it together at work. Don't let them see. Smile at the meeting. Contribute something intelligent. Don't zone out. Remember to ask about Sarah's presentation. Text back everyone who messaged. Return that call. Pay that bill. Keep the apartment clean in case someone stops by. Exercise because you should. Eat something even though you're not hungry. Shower. Dress appropriately. Match your outside to what people expect. Don't cry in public. Not here. Not now. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. This is hypervigilance, and it's exhausting. The brain's threat detection system, the amygdala, is constantly scanning for danger. But in this case, the danger isn't a physical threat. It's the danger of being seen, of slipping up, of letting the mask fall. Neuroscience research shows that chronic hypervigilance actually changes brain structure over time. The amygdala becomes overactive while the prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thinking and emotional regulation, shows reduced activity. In other words, the brain adapts to chronic stress by becoming more reactive and less able to regulate those reactions. It's a cruel irony. The harder they work to maintain control, the more their brain becomes wired for dysregulation. And here's what many people don't understand. By the time someone who quietly carries a lot gets home, they're depleted. They've spent all their energy maintaining the performance, so they collapse. They lie on the couch scrolling mindlessly. They skip meals because cooking feels impossible. They cancel plans because they've used up all their social capacity just getting through the day. To an outside observer, this might look like laziness or flakiness, but it's neither. It's the natural consequence of running on empty while pretending the tank is full. There's often a moment, sometimes dramatic, sometimes quiet, when the weight becomes too much, when the strategies that have worked for years suddenly stop working, when "I'm fine" starts to feel like a lie they can no longer tell. Psychologists call this decompensation, when the mechanisms someone uses to cope with stress become overwhelmed and cease to function effectively. It can be triggered by a major life event, a loss, a breakup, a health crisis, but often it's something small. The proverbial straw that breaks the camel's back, a minor criticism at work, a forgotten birthday, a friend canceling plans. The reaction seems disproportionate to the trigger because it's not really about the trigger. It's about the accumulated weight of everything they've been carrying in silence, sometimes for years. What happens next varies. Some people finally reach out. They send the text they've drafted and deleted 100 times. "I'm not okay." They make the therapy appointment. They let someone see behind the curtain. Others retreat further. The breaking point scares them, so they rebuild the walls higher, stronger. They tell themselves it was a momentary weakness, that they just need to be stronger, do better, try harder. They recommit to the performance. But here's what research on post-traumatic growth tells us. Sometimes breaking is necessary for healing. Dr. Richard Tedeschi's work shows that many people who experience significant psychological struggle report positive changes afterward, deeper relationships, greater appreciation for life, increased personal strength. But this growth requires first acknowledging the struggle, allowing the breaking, accepting help. The people who skip straight from breaking to rebuilding, who refuse to acknowledge what happened, often miss the opportunity for transformation. They get stronger walls, but they're still trapped inside them. Let's be clear about what this costs, not in metaphorical terms, but in real, tangible ways. It costs health. The chronic stress of carrying heavy burdens in silence triggers inflammatory responses in the body. Research published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that chronic stress literally shortens telomeres, the protective caps on our DNA that determine cellular aging. In other words, the stress of silent suffering ages you at a molecular level. It costs relationships. When you can't be authentic with people, intimacy becomes impossible. You might have many surface-level relationships, but few deep ones. People might know you, but no one really knows you. And humans are wired for connection. Not just any connection, but the kind that comes from being fully seen and accepted. Without that, there's a persistent, aching emptiness that no amount of casual friendship can fill. It costs opportunities. When you're spending all your energy just maintaining baseline functioning, there's nothing left for growth. The job opportunity you don't apply for because you're too depleted. The relationship you don't pursue because you're too afraid of being seen. The creative project that stays locked in your head because bringing it into the world would require vulnerability. And perhaps most tragically, it costs you yourself. When you spend years, sometimes decades, hiding your true experience, you can start to lose touch with what that experience even is. You become so good at the performance that you forget it's a performance. You start to believe your own press releases, and then one day you wake up and realize you don't know who you are underneath all the coping mechanisms. Psychologists call this self-alienation, becoming a stranger to yourself, and it's one of the loneliest experiences a human can have. But here's the thing about people who quietly carry a lot. They're also the ones who understand the value of support once they finally accept it, because they know what it's like without it. They know the weight of isolation, the exhaustion of pretending, the cost of silence. The shift doesn't usually happen all at once. It's not a dramatic moment where they suddenly reveal everything to everyone. It's smaller than that. It's choosing to answer honestly when one trusted person asks how they're really doing. It's saying, "I'm struggling," instead of "I'm fine." It's allowing themselves to cry in front of another human being. Dr. Kristen Neff's research on self-compassion offers a framework for this shift. She identifies 3 core components: self-kindness versus self-judgment, common humanity versus isolation, and mindfulness versus over-identification. For people who quietly carry a lot, the second component, recognizing that struggle is part of the shared human experience, not a personal failing, is often the most transformative. Therapy can help, particularly approaches like internal family systems or EMDR that address the root causes of chronic self-reliance and emotional suppression. But healing also happens in smaller moments. In friendships where vulnerability is met with acceptance, in relationships where you discover that people don't leave when you're not perfect, in experiences that prove the old survival strategies aren't needed anymore. The beautiful thing is that people who learn to share their burdens often become bridges for others. They recognize the signs in fellow silent carriers because they've lived it. They know what to say and what not to say because they've been on the receiving end of both. Their experience becomes a gift, but only after they've first given themselves the gift of honesty. If you're reading this and you recognize yourself in these words, I want you to know something. The strength that helped you survive can also help you heal, but only if you redefine what strength means. Strength isn't suffering in silence, it's speaking truth in the face of fear. Strength isn't carrying everything alone, it's having the courage to share the weight. Strength isn't maintaining the performance at all costs. It's letting it fall away and trusting that who you are underneath is enough. You've been strong in one way for so long. Maybe it's time to be strong in a different way. The weight you carry quietly doesn't make you noble. It doesn't make you special. It doesn't protect anyone, least of all yourself. What it does is isolate you, exhaust you, and rob you of the connection and support that every human being deserves. And here's what you might not have considered. The people who love you want to know you, the real you, not the curated version, not the performance, not the highlights reel. They want to sit with you in your mess and prove that they're not going anywhere. But they can't do that if you never let them in. So maybe start small. Pick one person, one truth, one moment of honest vulnerability. See what happens. You might be surprised to discover that the world doesn't end when you stop holding it up. You might find that there are hands ready to catch you if you let yourself fall. You've been quietly carrying a lot for a long time. You've become exceptionally good at it. But maybe, just maybe, you don't have to be good at it anymore. Maybe it's okay to set something down. Maybe it's okay to ask for help. Maybe it's okay to admit that you're human, and humans weren't meant to carry everything alone. The people who quietly carry a lot are everywhere. They're resilient, capable, and deeply compassionate, but they're also tired in ways that sleep won't fix, lonely in ways that company won't cure, and strong in ways that have started to feel like weakness. If that's you, please hear this. Your pain doesn't make you a burden. Your struggle doesn't make you broken. Your needs don't make you weak. They make you human. And being human is enough. It's always been enough.